Hi again, John Wesley Bready on page 300 of this Freedom Whence, continuing the work of Thomas Barnardo and his associates. The scope of Barnardo's work is amazing. Rightly is their fellowship pronounced the largest family in the world. Exclusive of all boarding out centers, the homes today have hundreds of separate cottages, households, and branches, and constantly they are rearing about 8,500 children. In any of their 14 ever-open doors situated in the largest cities, any destitute child will be received at any hour of any day or night. Their girls' village home in Barkingside has been acclaimed by famous artists the most beautiful village in England, while such centres as the Boys' Garden City, Woodford Bridge, the William Baker Technical School, Goldings, Hertford, the Watts Naval Training School, Elmham in Norfolk, the Russell Coates Nautical School, Parkstone, Dorset, and the Baby's Castle, Hawkhurst, Kent, are scarcely less alluring, all of them located in charming countryside environments. Barnardo's, furthermore, have 2 excellent children's hospitals and several specialized hospital homes. They have creches, cripples' homes, convalescent homes, isolation homes, musical homes, vocational homes, and employment offices, together with excellent distributing homes, both in Canada and Australia. The success of the Barnardo family is phenomenal. Walter Reynolds, for many years director of music for all London's parks, has affirmed that he owed everything to these homes which reared him. The Honourable James Page, long Chief Whip in the federal government of Australia, was a child thief on London streets before Barnardo's received and transformed him. 2% of all Canada's British stock are Barnardo children and their descendants, among whom have been cabinet ministers, university professors, clergymen, school principals, doctors, dentists, engineers, managers of great businesses, men and women, in brief, who have adorned every art, calling, profession, and craft. Not 2% of the largest family in the world have been failures. These homes have had a marked impact on legislation. Repeatedly, Barnardo fought his way through the courts to protect his children from vicious exploitation. Most memorable of these legal struggles were those of 1889 and 1890. In the latter year, acting as his own barrister, he pushed 2 separate cases through the Court of Appeal, and in one of these, pleading before 3 Lord Justices and opposed by 3 barristers, he continued for 3 days on end. In both cases, on the letter of the law, a legal verdict had to be given against him, but in both the judges went out of their way to pronounce a moral verdict in his favor. Indeed, certain of the judges, after hearing all the evidence, sent first subscriptions to his homes. Barnardo further appealed to the House of Lords, and meantime public opinion became so stirred that the legislature was spurred to action. Before the cases could come up for ultimate hearing, there was passed, in March 1891, the famous Custody of Children Act, which thereafter made impossible the exploitation of children by depraved parents. That statute, to this day, is commonly styled the Barnardo Act. Not only have Barnardo's homes affected legislation, they also have affected profoundly the poor law system of England. The memorable local government committee, appointed in 1894 to investigate the whole question of rearing poor law and charity children, sat 2 years and published a report of 1,200 quarto pages. Its chairman was the Right Honourable Anthony J. Mundella, and his chief deputy, the Right Honourable Sir John Gorst, both of whom approached their problem with a bias for state institutions. After the investigation, Mundella declared, "I came to the opinion, which was shared, I think, by all my colleagues, that we could wish that in the local government board there was a department for the children of the state, and that we had a Dr. Barnardo to place at the head of them. Most of the reforms that the committee has recommended, Dr. Barnardo had anticipated and put into practice. We owe him much for what he has done. we owe him more for the example he has set us of how to do it. Gorst, summarizing his impressions, concluded, "In doing this public work, Dr. Barnardo did it in a manner which is an object lesson, not only to the authorities in England, but to the whole world. Nor do such judgments stand alone. The Right Honourable Sir Charles Booth, in his peerless Life and Labour of the People in London, 1902, said of Barnardo's work, quote, "It is beyond question the greatest charitable institution in London, or I suppose in the world, and its success has been deserved." Barnardo always conceived his task as a missionary project. For many years, despite all other duties, he preached twice every Sunday to thousands in the Edinburgh Castle, a one-time burlesque hall and pub, which he had acquired and transformed into a church. When Barnardo died, in 1905, at 60, he had reared 60,000 once destitute children. London opinion but expressed a universal sentiment when it said of him, "The man was great. The milk of human kindness flowed from him as dews from heaven. Nor creed nor color, caste or kind had weight with him. His lofty soul reached beyond the bounds of nationhood, girding the world with love." That same fervent evangelical spirit animates Barnardo's homes today. Many feared that with their founder's death they would decline. Instead, they have increased in strength and fame. The Council of Christian Gentlemen who now guide them are all voluntary workers, who, in love, give of their best as to friends. Nor does the British public fail them. Cheerfully it entrusts to them nearly £3 million, I guess that's dollars, $3 million a year for the support of their famous family. And so it is that their gracious charter, "No destitute child ever refused admission," is steadfastly maintained. Most historians have quite ignored the origin, development, and influence of such voluntary bodies as this chapter has outlined. A knowledge of them, nevertheless, is essential to any balanced understanding of the working of the predominantly Anglo-Saxon democracies, whether British or American. For in spiritualized tradition and humanity, not in coercion and regimentation, reside the genius of the English-speaking peoples. That genius, furthermore, has been nurtured in voluntary organizations, which, though deeply religious, are in no sense ecclesiastical. And the creation, management, and support of such bodies has not only kept sweet the milk of human kindness, but has engendered the abilities and adaptabilities without which so intricate and delicate an instrument as democracy hardly could hope to succeed. It is the voluntary principle, as reflected in such spiritual humanitarian institutions, that is nurtured and sustained in the typical Anglo-Saxon and American an abhorrence of all revolutionary methods, and a pronounced sympathy with the underprivileged, and a profound respect for disinterested religion, law, and order, which he regards both as essential vehicles of freedom and as indispensable media of any good society. End of the chapter, Creative Social Service. Next chapter is Christendom, Whither Bound? I'll put in a link to a series we did called Why Jesus? This particular episode is a surprising admission by that famous atheist, Bertrand Russell. See you soon.